You have reached the Geek Elite. Good luck.
Can you guys imagine the day that somewhere in social media there appears a Magic Bollocks 1?
I can't.
Like
Magic Bollocks 12. Welcome back for another shift on the Geeks Watch. This week we are here. We are talking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier on Disney Plus. We're on episode 3. I can't believe it. We're already there. I have to say that this is the episode I've been waiting for. Like, I didn't know what was going to happen in this episode, but after watching it, this is the episode I was waiting for. So,
I want to get into the broader conversation, but Mitch, what do you mean? Is it just because of the location? What are we talking about?
I just felt like we have like the essential players all in the same room. I was really looking forward to Zemo and Sharon Carter showing up. So, and we got to visit Madripoor. Like Madripoor is a huge part of X-Men and Wolverine. Like, not that I'm a huge Wolverine fan, but it's a big part of the Marvel universe that we don't get to go to. So, with that being said, first we're going to get into our week's watch. So, Elizabeth, what did you watch this week?
This week we picked back up our Oscar nomination viewing and watched Nomadland, which I wanted to like. I did not care for it. There is no story. There's literally no story. It's kind of like, it's the equivalent of watching somebody wake up in the morning, go to work, come home, eat dinner, and go to bed.
I feel like there's always one Oscar nomination that is that. There's always one movie that's just not about nothing on there.
Yeah. So
was it slice of life in a bad way? I don't know what the main thrust of Nomadland. Like, what's the purpose that validates the rest of it?
I don't know that it was slice of life.
It is.
Yeah, it's slice of life in a bad way. The whole premise of the movie is we open up with our main character living in a van already, working at Amazon at Christmas time, and like gig work. And then her friend tells her to go to Quartzsite for a living in a van life convention.
Essentially.
And then we watch her work some gig work in the Badlands and across South Dakota. And then she makes her way over to California. And then it ends, she's back at Quartzsite the following year.
Interesting. Have any of you guys been to Quartzsite? Did you feel a connection here?
I mean, it was. If it was not filmed in Quartzsite,
it was.
They did a really good set job. Okay.
Yeah, I looked up some of the trivia. Like, there's one scene where they go to the Quartzsite Yacht Club. Now, if you know anything about Quartzsite, there's no water.
Yeah.
But so that's the joke, and it says that they actually got locals to be in there for that scene, which was interesting. I had no idea this movie was filmed just an hour away from where we live.
Exactly. So, no, it was definitely it was very clearly Quartzsite. And it was somewhat of really, I think it was an attempt at commentary on free market economics and the housing bubble of 2008.
Because the movie does take place in 2012.
Yeah.
Oh,
and you get some backstory that our main character,
played by Frances McDormand.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It's our main protagonist is Frances McDormand, and then the kind of not love interest.
Secondary main character, is played by David Strahan. You see him, if you see his face, you know who he is. You just might not know his name. Good Night and Good Luck was a big movie for him. The TV show Alphas was yeah, he was the main guy, like putting the alphas together.
Oh, the gray-haired Professor X guy.
Correct.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I like that. I like that actor a lot.
Yeah.
Alphas is good.
So you get the backstory in little snippets, but mostly unaffecting, that she was married, her husband was a miner in a mining town, that's all that it did.
Literally, it's a town that was owned by the mining company.
Yeah, it was a company town.
The houses in that town were owned by the mining company, and when it dried up, everybody had to leave.
Yep. And her husband died of cancer, apparently relatively close to before the movie starts. Mm-hmm. There really isn't any flashbacks. You don't really get any of that story other than her just kind of saying it to people.
Mm.
But there's no character development. There's no love interest. There's no journey. It just kind of exists. So I didn't really care for it. It was just kind of, it felt very half-baked.
Honestly, what you're describing so far sounds like award season movies.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem that Elizabeth is having, that there is no arc. There's no real story. It's just a year in the life of this person that lives the nomad life. And they talk a lot about the nomad life. There's interviews. It's not so much interviews, because it's not shot like a documentary or anything, but
it's conversations.
It's conversations, and the main guy that's kind of the leader, so like the de facto leader of the nomad life, Bob Swells. He didn't even know that Frances McDormand was an actress, so like he just thought they were filming a thing. So like a lot of the people in this, people in this were just people that lived that life,
lived the nomad lifestyle,
and were in the movie with her, yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool.
It was basically like a fictionalized documentary, but it didn't. But even calling it a documentary doesn't feel right, because it doesn't really get into much about that. It just is very surface level on that nomad lifestyle. So it was just, it left me wanting something more. I needed something, because I love a good documentary. And I'd be interested in a documentary about the nomad lifestyle and why people choose it, and those. But none of that was here.
Gotcha.
So
that's too bad. Honestly, like there are things about that where it sounds like it sparked your interest, and in looking into that further, and then also showing you some of those people actually just living there. There's a lot of implications to it that I think only become more interesting if you look past the actual movie itself. So I don't know if it did its job in that regard.
It's also something to mention that it's based on a nonfiction book, Nomadland, by Jessica Bruder. So I assume this just means it was a year out of her life, and they just straight adapted it instead of putting a story in there.
I mean, that's fair. Well, what is it? Was it Into the Wild was an adaptation of that man's real journal, but there's an obvious arc in how things ended for him.
Right.
Well, and the Into the Wild book also has an arc. Like, there is an actual storyline to it. And so, this just felt very...
Are you thinking of Call of the Wild? Or are you thinking of Into the Wild? Where the guy...
Into the Wild.
Into the Wild.
Okay.
Emil Hirsch.
With Emil
Eat
Hirsch.
some poison berries.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alaska.
I just thought, I didn't know that there was a arc in the book. I had never read it. I just assumed it was his diary.
Which is the one where Reese Witherspoon goes hiking?
That's something wild. The Wildlands?
Also wild, right?
Yeah. No, I had to read that book for freshman year of college.
That makes sense. That would have been around the kind of time when it was really popular too. So
yeah, it was the book you had to read before starting your freshman year. So that was what the orientation class was all about.
Oh, it was just wild. That's it.
Oh, just wild.
I don't want it to the title of the movie to have been Wild. I want the title to have been Just
Wild.
Only wild.
But yeah, so that was Nomadland. I don't know where, or Hulu is where we saw it, right?
We watched it on Hulu. That was directed by Chloe Zhao. And it's not Zhao. It's Zhao? Yes. ZH makes the J sound. So Zhao. She is going to be the director of the Eternals coming later this year for Marvel.
Ooh.
And so people knew that it's out there.
Did you at least like how it's directed? If you didn't like the story, like...
I mean, I guess I probably did.
Okay.
It's me. I don't... How things are shot, what the color palettes are, don't really... Unless it's really bad, I don't notice it. It's never something I pick up on. So I am the last person to ask. I don't know, Mitch, did you enjoy the way it was directed?
I have issue with a lot of the different types of angles that because either she or her director of photography decides they need to get really up close and impersonal with people, so they have to they do a lot of upward looking shots from like underneath people's chins, so to speak.
That's never nice.
Well, I mean, they do it in a much more professional, better looking than cell phone pictures, but like it just. I don't care for really extreme close-ups in movies. Like, I don't need someone's face to be 4 feet wide on my big screen TV. So that's like one of the issues I used to have with our local news. Like when they first went to all virtual, like they'd be so zoomed in. I'm like, I don't need that person in my living room. Like it doesn't need to be that personal. But yeah, like other than that, it's all very desaturated. The whole movie for especially like going from different areas that they went from South Dakota to Quartzsite. Like one of the things we're known for in Arizona is our sunsets and stuff like that. So why not feature that? But everything looked the same. Like the whole, and maybe that's a commentary. Maybe it's saying that the whole country looks the same. Like we are all the same in the same situation. But it to me was just all very drab.
Yeah.
That's right. Nomadland is on Hulu.
and that's one that's included with your normal subscription for Hulu.
Correct. You don't have to have one of their premium channels or add-on channels for that. Okay. Steven, what did you watch this week?
I watched a thing that I was trying to push for us doing as a week's watch. That can't happen now because now I'm in. You guys would already be behind. Finger snap. So yeah, I watched Made for Love on HBO Max.
Nice.
It has I forget her name right now. Christina
Milioti.
That's the one. Thank you. From like the episode of Black Mirror in the past, that Star Trek one.
She's the mother of Ted Mosby's kids in How I Met Your Mother.
I did not know that one. Did not watch that show.
And she was in Palm Springs or whatever.
And she was in Palm Springs.
Yep. Yeah, and then for the two things that I know her best from, I mean, like Surprise, this is also like that. If she was in other things, I wouldn't have seen her in those things. But I think the two things that I hear people mention for her most is that episode of Black Mirror and then most recently Palm Springs, because it's recent. Mm-hmm. This is much more in keeping in tone with those things. This is a whole season of not just like punch you in the face Black Mirror kind of stuff so far. They have 3 episodes that are out. You can watch all of them all at once, and then I believe it's week to week after that. But the whole pitch for it is that she's kind of with this weird Mark Zuckerberg who started a Google corollary kind of thing. And he's a weird, possessive, emotionally performative person who's manipulative in some ways, but I don't think is good at those things, even manipulating himself or other people. Someone who was lucky that they found the one niche that they can be successful in and got into it first. But she tries to leave the place where they live, which is this one. It's basically the Google campus in the middle of the desert. Everything is very blocky and specific. And there's a big holographic dome thing inside. So you see whatever environment they want you to see with this holographic projection. But then on the outside, everyone's very aware that you're just in the middle of the desert by California, apparently. So over the course of the thing, we learn a little bit more. But to save any spoilers or anything, the first episode begins with her breaking out of there. It's a very possessive kind of marriage. And then there's one piece of technology that's supposed to connect 2 people that she clearly has. Like she's already had this installed in her.
She was the test subject.
Yeah. Yeah. So she gets to deal with this kind of thing. It's there are a lot of different things that I like and enjoy in this that are parts of other things. There's a little bit of that movie Anon, which I don't know if anybody watched, but I liked a lot. That had Amanda Seyfried and Clive Owen in it. I really liked that.
Yeah. How do you say that?
Anon?
Okay.
How would you have said this?
Anon?
Interesting.
Like anonymous?
That makes them... Yeah, like that's how I think you would say it in like comparison to the full word. But when I'm referring to like a unit that's just one or like one collective unit, I say it the other way. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah. But there's parts of that in this. There's plenty of Black Mirror in it, and there's some really, really good acting. Everyone's acting really well in this whole thing, but I think the best acting out of the whole thing might be from this random dude that gets a phone call while she's trying to get away. They keep triggering the electronics kind of around her, and this dude gets a phone call and is supposed to go and talk to her on behalf of the other person on the other side of the phone. And so this guy is the perfect idea of a person who's out like weed whacking his yard, gets this call and is like, there's a person on the phone for you. He says he's Mark Zuckerberg. Like it was really good in one scene. There's other parts of it that are acted really well and could be off-putting if they weren't acted really well. Ray Romano plays her dad. And he is a very specific kind of person in this. But he does it in a way that is lovable, I guess.
Oh, okay.
So, I don't know. But it's really interesting. I highly recommend it. It would be a fun one if we had done it for the Week's Watch, or the Geeks Watch, like over actual watching it week to week. But I'm okay with just talking to you guys like in text messages about it or in tweets.
I mean, I assume they're only doing one episode a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. The 3 for this first one, which is it's one good, clean chunk of it. I do like that as the format for the mix, like that transition between putting the whole season out and then week to week, because people aren't content with just one episode. And then we already know from TV premieres before that the 2-episode block for the premiere also falls flat plenty often. So 3 seems to be the new way to do it. And I like that. We did that with Invincible and with this both. So
give you a movie and then continue it in a series.
That sounds wonderful.
Pretty much.
Well, I mean, that is.
I think that they should just, for like half-hour series, they should do 3 episodes a week, just in general.
Oh.
I mean, you would get through the season quicker, but like maybe that would push them to do like 15 episodes a season instead of 9.
I feel like they just start making shorter episodes. But I also come from the world of watching Cartoon Network shows where they're like, yeah, you get 2 episodes at once, but they're both 11 minutes. So like, go to hell. So, but that was that. I highly recommend it. Again, that's HBO Max for that series, Made for Love.
Made for Love. All right. Jessica, what did you watch this week?
I am continuing the Marvel show thing. I think I watched half of Iron Man season 1 and went, I'm done with this one. I don't need to finish this. So I've moved on to the 1994, I think that's the year, Fantastic Four.
Ooh.
Which has a really great opening theme song. Like a really good 1990s opening theme song. Like, just call the four, Fantastic Four. It's great. And this one I'm enjoying a lot more. I think I've slept through it a lot because it's been a rough week, so I've been falling asleep earlier than usual. But I kind of like the dynamic of it. I didn't realize the relationships would be different from the movies. Like in this one, Sue and Reed are already married when they get their powers, from what I was understanding. So they were like already in a relationship. And I actually kind of like that more than where like they basically meet when they get their powers and then fall in love. I feel like I kind of like they already had an established relationship. It's a bit cheesy of an established relationship. Like, it's a 1990s show, but it's very much a 1950s relationship. But, and I don't know, it's fun. I'm on season 2 now, which is why I know I totally slept through most of it, because I started it again like the next night, and I was like, why are we in completely different outfits? And the theme song changed to something that did not live up to the first theme song. It's it's gross. But in season 2 you get a lot more of people, like Avenger characters, coming in to help them out. I think the last episode I watched, it was Thor helping them defeat Ego, the living planet, which it's so cool to think that they took this. Like, I can't see how they got Ego, the living planet, and then how they got the living planet you get in Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm like, wow, like, that's what's crazy, because now I'm kind of understanding why so many people were furious with the MCU for a while. I'm like, okay, I get it. This is really cool, but at the same time, like, this would only work in animation, though, guys. Like, or comic book, I guess. But like, it's cool, I get it, but there's no way the movie audience brain is gonna accept this. I will say I do kind of want the MCU to do Galactus, though. I kind of like him.
Honestly, Galactus is a hard tackle. Like, he's just so much. I don't know how you do it outside of like a TV show, because if you do it as the movies, like, that's it. You don't do more movies.
Yeah, I kind of like him, how he's written, at least in these shows, because it's now 2 shows I've seen him in decent amount, which is Fantastic Four, and then also, of course, the Silver Surfer show. And I like how he's like, he's evil, but that's how he lives. Like, he has to eat planets, and it just so happens he chooses Earth, or he doesn't even choose it. His,
Herald.
Silver Surfer, his Herald chooses it for him, which is why if he has a Herald that actually gives a crap, then he's just eating not a lot of life form planets. And if his Herald just screws up and is like, Earth.
Galactus did nothing wrong. It's all the Silver Surfers.
Yeah, I just feel like I feel like he's a good neutral character. Even though he seems bad, I feel like as a whole, he's just living his life. It's like, do you really hate the wolf for killing the deer? Like,
yes.
And it's just the fact that he's not muted. I mean, no, you don't. It's just trying to live.
Steven does.
I'm sure that once we get Galactus in the MCU, that will be what most of the movie will be the contention of, is like, how can we like be upset when we eat cows, like, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just a huge representation of it, and I just like how he also talks in the third person.
There's a great Star Trek: The Next Generation episode with the crystalline entity.
Yeah,
you know about this one? Yes, that was basically the Galactus storyline, where they're like, "Hey, we can't kill this thing. It's a living creature. It's just doing what it needs to survive."
Yeah.
But then there's a person that's like, "No, we got to kill that thing because it like killed my family or whatever." And it was a whole lot of moral dilemma there about that.
It's a good episode.
There was, in that particular episode, which it was also the Thor episode, Reed's like, okay, in order to defeat Ego, we have to use Galactus, kind of thing. And they go, and Galactus is like, okay, I'll help you, but if I help you, then our deal about me never attacking Earth is over, and I can attack it whenever I want. And Reed is like, okay. And I'm like, wait, Reed, can you ask all of Earth's population if we're okay with you taking this deal? Like, you had to make a deal with him in the first off to like get him to not destroy us. You couldn't just defeat him. You had to make a deal. Like,
yeah,
now you're gonna renege on that just so he could be Ego, which his little reasoning was like, well, right now Ego's gonna kill our planet, so we'll deal with this next attack later on. Kind of
That's Tomorrow Me's problem.
Yeah. It's like Galactus' whole motivation in this. Like, what a very specific thing for humans to have written, and exactly how I would have expected them to do it, where this great entity that travels the universe eating whole planets is like, nah, but Earth is the tastiest meal. Like, they don't give a shit.
Earth is really just a giant like space Cadbury egg, apparently.
I mean, he does in the comic books. I do believe they talk about him that Galactus needs like one that's filled with life force. Like just giving when Norrin Radd, the Silver Surfer, takes him to planets that are uninhabited, like they don't satisfy his hunger enough. That's why he has to eat so many.
Yeah.
I don't know that just sounds like those people who are like, no, but if my beer is very expensive, it's better.
No,
No. It's the difference between eating a rice cake and eating a steak.
Exactly. It's the vegetarians. It's the vegetarians versus
that.
meat eaters.
I was okay with the substitute one. 100%. The spicy, the hot Italian bratwurst from Beyond Meat. I will choose any day over any hot dog.
Yeah, but you're taking into account now where they've created all these Beyond Meat and meat substitute stuffs. We're talking about when Galactus was created back in the 70s. It was just salads. Like it was just eating lettuce.
There's no Beyond Earth.
There wasn't even quinoa in it, okay? We're talking like
Yeah. That was when kale was used to like display the produce all nicely. Kale was like in the sides of your apples, separating the apples from the oranges. That was what it was used for. Before like
for a very long time.
Yeah, because it's paper.
It's good.
It's good leafy paper though. I like kale.
I would be curious, Jess. I don't remember the name of the show, Mitch, but I would be curious to see how you would feel about the more recent, I guess, Green Lantern animated series that Cartoon Network did a few years back.
Yeah, the Green Lantern Corps one. I never watched it.
Oh.
I really liked it. There was a lot of good stuff in there.
That's what I've heard. I've only heard good things about it. I just did not care for the animation, so I never watched it.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't even know where you can stream that if you tried right now. I'm assuming HBO with their connection to WB.
Yeah, I'm going to say HBO Max. It's on there. It's got to be.
Oh, I'll check it out and see.
Well, there you go. As soon as she's done with Marvel, she's going to hit up all the DC animated shows. You're going to start with the Super Friends.
Okay, I will. I can't wait to get to Justice League.
That's a good one.
Yeah, Justice League Unlimited is better than Justice League, I think.
Oh, yes. No, it is. I did manage to watch something else as well. I watched Rogers and Hammerstein Cinderella, finally. I love that one. I love it so much. One of my favorite things about this movie is that it's a diverse cast that doesn't give a shit if the diversity makes sense.
Well, I was
That's
just going
my
to bring that up. What year was that again? Because I know it was made for ABC and their Sunday night family movie.
A Wonderful World of Disney. Yeah.
Because that was Brandy at her highest.
Early 2000s, I'd imagine.
I feel like it was before 2000.
I want to say 98, but
So this would have definitely been before commercial internet, like the way that
97.
we know it. It was 97. Look at that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have to wonder, like, if they were to have made that in nowadays, how much, like, Twitter would blown up with white supremacists talking about, like, this is terrible. They're doing diverse characters and stuff like that.
Honestly, it's good. It's really freaking good. Despite all of, the really bad special effects that they did nothing. They did no favors for some of those things for this transfer of that film.
Little glitter swirls for the magic.
Yeah, but it's a great movie.
Never saw it.
really,
Yeah, the CGI pumpkin too. They use CGI to make the
add it to
pumpkin.
the list.
You're like, ooh. But yeah, I love how it's like, the stepsisters, one's black and one's white, and nobody cares. Like, nobody cares. And the Whoopi Goldberg is the queen, and then I can't remember who the king is, but
it's freaking
and they have an Asian son, and you're like, this is great. Like,
the king is one half of Firestorm. It's gray.
Victor Garber?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who it is.
Wow.
Yes. Great. It's great.
Yeah, he
Alexander-
and Whoopi Goldberg have an Asian son.
I never remember his actual name, but George from Seinfeld,
Jason Alexander.
something. Jason Alexander. He's in it too. He plays like the King's Guard? Not even the King's Guard. I don't know, the servant guy, basically, but it's friend of the prince, and he's got a cool song. So it's nice to see him use his Broadway chops. And I don't know, it's just good. The music's good. I like the relationship between the prince and Cinderella in this one because they meet before the ball in the marketplace, and I think that's great. But it does, with the whole diversity thing, it does have that moment when he's trying to look for her with the glass slipper, and they're trying it on everybody, and it's like, well, you could at least not try it on like the white people. Like,
I mean, I guess that was 1997's way of saying, like, color blindness. It's fine. That's what we're striving for. No.
yeah, I get it, but at the same time, watching it now, I was like, okay, we could have been a little logical, at least. But I think I think about that always watching any version of Cinderella, though. Like, you could have at least looked at the blonde girls. Like hair color, especially then, didn't change overnight. Like you could have. Yeah.
I forget her name, but the stepmother, aunt or whatever.
Peters.
Yeah, she's like I like her part where they put the slipper on her successfully, and then she's like, it was me. Get it off! It's cutting off my circulation.
It's Bernadette Peters, John?
Yeah, that was the stepmom.
From Clue? That's awesome.
You need to go watch it. Look, we might have hooked him.
Nope.
No.
Yeah, it came out in '97, so it's definitely got a that late '90s vibe.
I'll switch with you, Mitch.
Oh yeah, you're gonna trade me Cinderella, Roger and Hammerstein's Cinderella.
Yes.
You could have done Hamilton, Jess. You could have done Hamilton.
I will.
No, he would have
like,
never traded for that.
This is true.
He would never. I know that wouldn't happen. Hamilton's like 3 hours long. Like this is only an hour. Like,
I will come up with something and we'll make that trade.
okay, awesome.
Snyder cut.
No, I'm not putting that on anybody.
I already did it. It's fine.
Yeah, so she already watched it.
You should have stayed quiet. Be like, yeah, sure, I'll watch that.
No,
Do one of the
because I would feel
Kung Fu
obligated to
movies
watch it
from
again.
the 80s.
Oh God.
One of the Kung Fu movies? Well, okay. I'll get her. I'll think of which one to do.
Make her Operation Condor.
Operation Condor. Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon.
What's the one with the hand that comes down from the sky that you had?
Oh, that's Kung Fu Hustle. That's not from the 80s.
Oh, okay.
That's from.
Oh no,
that's
I've already
recent.
seen that. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful film.
It's a good movie.
All right, you heard it on the podcast. Mitch agreed to a switch.
All right, so both of those are available on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I'm pretty much always a Disney Plus person from week to week.
It's a good thing that's where Falcon and the Winter Soldier is. John, what did you watch this week?
All right, before I get started with that, since we're on the topic of challenges or whatever, trade-offs, there's this one that I've been wanting Stephen to watch for a while now, and I'm willing to take any counter offers with that. But I really want you to watch The Void, or Enter the Void.
Enter the
It's
Void.
the one that's got those really cool opening credits. They're like super stylized in like 100 different like styles. But the movie itself is pretty good, man. Like, I want you to get past that credit scene and actually watch it at some point.
Wait,
I have rewatched that credit scene and suggested it to people.
just the credit scene.
It's not even like a credit scene where like something is happening, there's something interacting. It's just them showing the names interestingly.
Yeah, in like various fonts and styles.
Not to go too off topic, but didn't we recently learn something about the director of that movie?
Was that same guy, or was that a different but similarly colored film?
Oh, I don't know. It's okay. Keep going.
So yeah, and so I'll let you think about it for a while, see if there's something you want to suggest back.
Okay.
I'm definitely open to pretty much anything you're willing to suggest anyway, so go nuts with that. So I watched, it premiered, and I had forgotten it was going to come out until somebody tweeted about it, and they said, it's like, hey, how's the Lizard versus Gorilla movie? And I was like, oh, snap, is that out already? So I had to go look it up, and yeah, it was everything I hoped it would be. Gorilla versus Kong was fantastic. Oh, wait, no. Godzilla versus Kong.
Yep.
Gorilla versus Kong.
Wow.
Gorilla
It's-
versus Kong.
It's about the toys. It's an advertisement for the dog toys.
Yeah. Actually, that would be great. They should show Kong just like biting into that, showing how tough those things are.
It's got.
I
It's got
did make the suggestion. They could have built it as like a boxing match and called it Godzilla versus Gorilla, and it would have been like perfect like versus matchup, having them like at the weigh-in and everything, and like posturing against each other, having to get separated, because they just can't wait for the actual match. It was just a lot of fun.
Is it weird? Is it weird, John, that we got a movie like this movie got remade in, I guess now, like modern cinema after the movie based off that video game where giant monsters destroy a city?
Rampage.
Yeah.
Did I even watch that
guess-
movie? I don't even remember.
It's not good.
It looked awful. And the only thing I have to say against Rampage, because I haven't seen it, but it looks like it's such a departure from the actual game, other than just having these large animals destroying a city. I'm like, this is lame, unless The Rock turns into the gorilla character at the end. But like, all of the monsters are supposed to be humans that were mutated into giant monsters. These were just animals that got turned into larger animals.
Yeah.
So it was really just like, I think, a Rock vehicle. But I think they made it on a low enough budget that it was probably like a test movie to see like our audience is going to be receptive to it.
That's fair.
And therefore, I think, we got a few more. But this thing has more in alignment with like Pacific Rim, and I definitely called it in my little review that I wrote up for Geek Elite Media, that this is the movie that Pacific Rim was definitely trying to be.
Whoa.
It was good in its own way, but this is so much better.
What?
I like it too. I'm not saying that Pacific Rim was bad in any way at all. Uh-oh, I lost Steven.
Here, Steven, would this help better?
Things.
Would this help if... Steven, would this help? It's what Pacific Rim 2 was trying to be.
Okay. No, yeah.
Okay,
Fuck that
yeah,
movie.
that's fine.
There you go.
I'm back with you, John.
Now, okay, to be fair, I haven't seen Pacific Rim 2 only because I've heard it was bad and didn't even come close to the original. So we'll go with that. We'll say that this is the better sequel to Pacific Rim. How about that?
I'm okay with this. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
I've calmed down. I'm closer to the mic. I'm calm.
For the moment, he's calm.
I was like, vein in your forehead's really throbbing right now. Getting in like 4K resolution.
The extremist acts up sometimes.
So yeah, movie was great, fun, good time. If you don't already like kaiju movies or Godzilla movies, don't bother. You're not gonna like this anyway. If you do like Godzilla stuff, if you like big dumb action movies, because this is a big dumb action movie, the plot is borderline nonsensical. It does take a few hard turns into sci-fi territory, like Journey into the Center of the World kind of stuff. But even then, the logic of that is just so like wackadoodle, like secondary to the actual action, that it's like, don't think about it too hard. Just enjoy the fact that there seems to be an ancient civilization in the center of the world of like hyper intelligent giant gorillas that were smart enough to take the bones of their enemies to fashion them into weapons, that somehow they realized that those can also absorb atomic energy to become supercharged so that they can become more powerful. There's no like, okay, you just have to like accept it and continue.
And they did introduce that in the last Godzilla movie, King of Monsters. Yeah. So they just go further into it.
Yeah, it just goes further into sci-fi territory.
That's nice, actually.
The Godzilla's actually kind of not really that much into it. This movie kind of reminded me in some good and some bad ways of Batman v Superman, where it's more the second character's movie than the first. Godzilla's not as much in it, ironically. Kong is like almost a full-fledged character. You find out that he's intelligent. He can communicate with this little girl through sign language.
Well, yeah, other normal gorillas can do that. Like,
This is a normal gorilla.
You listen to You're Wrong About. You know that's not true, Jess.
I haven't listened to that episode yet. So no, I don't.
So yeah, it was good fun. I recommend it to anybody that likes this kind of movie. I feel like you already decided whether you're gonna like it or not before you even watched it. If you watch it, you're gonna probably like it. If you were like, I don't want to go into this, you're not going to. And on a side note, this kind of got me on this weird sort of side track of like, after my little experiment with Flash Gordon and seeing the parody that was made of it.
No.
No,
No.
John, we're not going
No.
there.
No. Stop. Just don't.
Let's just say it
We had to watch
exists.
them all.
It's there.
It's Rule 34. It proves the rule.
Yes, and I will say the special effects are not quite up to par, kind of in the converse of the Flash Gordon thing. But there's a story. There's like logical reasons why things happened in that movie, and like just to take it a step further, April Fools. A couple of days belated, but I knew that I would get you guys with that.
John, I am curious. Have you seen Shin Godzilla?
I have not.
Okay, Mitch, did you get to confirm anything about this director? Was that the director? I saw
No.
you typing away.
It was not the same the Enter the Void, because I just remembered someone saying something about Enter the Void when something came out.
Yeah, I forget what it was exactly. I would have put those two directors in the same bin in my head for sure.
No, Gaspar Noé is the guy from Enter the Void. Is the same guy who did Irreversible.
Right.
So, John, I will trade you after you watch that movie. These two, I'll trade you Shin Godzilla for that.
Okay.
Cool.
So Enter the
Sounds fair.
Void for Shin Godzilla. All right.
Yeah, I just want everyone to watch Shin Godzilla.
Oh, here you go, Jess. Have you ever watched Tango and Cash?
I don't think so.
All right.
Oh.
So to go along with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I will trade you Tango and Cash for Rogers and Hammerstein's Cinderella.
Okay.
Thanks,
Tango
Jess.
and Cash. What?
She
Now
will.
you get to watch. Now you get to watch
I
it.
was gonna say she's gonna enjoy. You're gonna enjoy Tango and Cash. You love '80s action movies.
For this one,
What's
Mitch,
what you've seen?
Ben.
Oh, huh?
you could weasel your way out of this, Mitch.
Oh,
you
could
could watch the other.
Cinderella.
You could watch the other one,
Which other one?
like the original television production of Rogers and Hammerstein's.
No. It has to be the one currently on Tango. No, I should have said that. No, it has to be the one.
Why would I want to
Disney
watch
Plus.
the other one though?
It's like the 50s too. It looks weird.
I'm okay. All right, John. So I did not watch that movie. I did not watch Godzilla versus Kong. But I did edit your article. I just want to know, and you don't have to say if there who it is, but is there an actual winner? Because a lot of these versus movies, there's never an actual winner.
No, because Godzilla.
The human race.
That's usually how they put it. Is the humans win?
We all win for just getting to watch the spectacle. I'll tell you who doesn't win.
The humans.
Property owners.
that could be a spoiler alert. Well, it's done in such a way that it's kind of like Godzilla wins, but
Hey, you
at
weren't
the end
supposed
of
to spoil it.
well,
They're both alive.
let's just put it that way. They're both alive at the end. Both of them are alpha males, apparently. So, that's one of the things they're trying to do in the movie is keep them separated because it's going to result in a fight to the death. But there is, it's in the
Toxic
article. So if you,
masculinity.
it is already. Yeah, it's like they always have to one up each other.
So it's The Rock and Vin Diesel. I got it.
Yes, and that's exactly right. So, the end of the movie is literally the end of every Fast and Furious movie, where the two alphas just kind of you know what, we have our differences, but I respect you, and they both go their separate ways.
Is it in the way that they set up in King of Monsters, John, where it's there's one that's the top one, and then everything else is weirdly ant pheromones subservient to them because they beat up the previous top dog?
Basically, but
Okay.
to that point, you don't see any others except for like just a few minor, not even at the same level as Kong and Godzilla. But yeah, basically that's the point, is that the only other alpha remaining is Kong, and that's the only thing that really poses a threat to Godzilla basically acting out and, causing destruction, which everybody starts blaming him for that. But it's really, there's another reason why Godzilla is like acting a fool, and you get to find out as you watch why.
And get Mothma to like come out there and to be like, okay, come on, dude, can you just not? No. Just pick him up and take a boat. Come on, let's just go destroy this island. You'll be fine.
Yeah, it's like every fraternity just has those two bros that, like they won't be peace until they punch each other a couple times and then they hug it out.
Okay, there you go. Godzilla vs. Kong is now available on HBO Max or in theaters if you feel safe.
So, Mitch, what'd you watch?
And so my week's watch, I watched the return of Detective Stabler to the Law and Order universe.
What?
That's right. SVU's Detective Elliot Stabler, played by Christopher Maloney, has come back, and he is now in Law and Order Organized Crime.
Is it just
Another Law and Order show is exactly what we need.
Yep.
Is it just because Happy ended?
Happy ended, Father in Charge, or whatever that show. Like every show that Chris Maloney has tried to do since leaving SVU has just not gone well for him. Like Happy was probably the most critically acclaimed one, but they still only got 2 seasons, and it was on a Sci-Fi Channel. Like nobody's watching it. So
Yeah.
it was
He
a
was
great
going to be
show.
set up to be the Guardian, and that didn't pan out.
He was the Guardian in Man of Steel, and I think he dies in Man of Steel, so that didn't work out for him. Like I said, he's I think he's an interesting actor. Like he wants to do comedy so bad. If you like watch those Harold and Kumar movies, or like anything that he gets to do comedy in, he loves to do it. Happy, so to speak. But like he gets typecast as a hard ass most of the time because he looks like a hard ass.
He had the perfect mix of those way back when
He did.
he was Casey Jones.
He was who?
Casey Jones in the TMNT movies.
Wrong guy.
What?
That's Elias Koiteas. Matthias.
What?
It's hideous.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could see how you would think they look similar.
They're the same human.
They're not. But however, he was on another Dick Wolf show. He was on Chicago PD for a while. Playing a hard ass cop.
I hate it.
We're just ruining Steven's world all day today.
Yeah, it's bullshit. I was happy before.
So Stabler has not been in the SV or the Law and Order universe for 10 years, and they repeat that in his episode of the show, or the pilot of his show. Like he has not been a cop, or at least not a cop in New York for 10 years. Like part of his hiatus, he was a cop in Rome, which he was like the liaison for organized crime or something like that over there, which was all very convoluted and weird, and they're just like, let's go past it real quick so we can get to the fact that he's here now, back in New York City. And the thing is that this is 2021, and starting up another crime procedural, like in the middle of what the world climate is when it's talking about cops, is very interesting. So they definitely needed to bring down Stabler's attitude. Like he is very much he was always the hothead. Like he might beat up a suspect at any moment, and we needed to deal with that in this time. So when we got to that part, they are definitely trying to tamper it down with him. There's a big reason why he has joined up with the New York City Police Department again in the organized crime division, so to speak, or task force. I won't give that away here, so in case anybody wants to watch it. But one of the bigger things that I thought was super surprising is a turn for one of the characters that is being introduced in the show. I was not expecting that of this character. And if they keep this actor on, I am going to I'm going to be interested in what their role is going to be. So,
Wait, is it that big of a thing that you can't give any spoilers?
I don't want to give any spoilers on it, like at least on that part. But is there something else you wanted to know?
No. How the hell it got past me? Those weren't the same person. But I mean, that's not here nor there.
I'm sure in his younger days he would have made a great Casey Jones, though.
I'm livid.
So Law and Order Organized Crime is on NBC. You can probably catch it on Hulu and Peacock if you don't have NBC.
So was it important because we watched the SVU
Crossover
episode. Was it important to watch that before watching Organized Crimes?
I would say it is, just because you get the lead up to why it is that he's back.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you could probably get away with not watching it, but you would definitely be like, I missed something. But they cover it. What were you going to ask, Sean?
Oh yeah, I was gonna throw into the point of Chris Maloney doing comedy. He definitely, I remember him a lot before I used to watch SVU or any of those other shows. I remember seeing him a lot on just cameo appearances on things like Conan and The Daily Show. And he always plays those like as the straight man, but you can tell he's doing it like he's got good comedic timing.
Right.
And one of his best appearances ever was on The Daily Show. If you remember, a few years ago during the Occupy Wall Street movement, there was a cop that pepper sprayed a bunch of peaceful protesters who were just sitting there minding their business.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, that guy's name was Tony Baloney, or Anthony Baloney. So they had this whole skit of Chris Maloney playing Tony Baloney, and then they had some other weird name where it was just like a series of rhymes with baloney, which is worth the watch just for that. And he, like I said, he totally plays it straight. He's just walking around like New York and just pepper spraying people like just randomly all over, like just doing their own thing, minding their business. It's great. You should check that out if you like.
Did he spell it like TOGNA?
I don't remember actually. But yeah, it was good. It was good. It was a good watch.
Okay, so yeah, like you said, Christopher Maloney's been doing a lot of. He does have the comedic timing. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why Happy worked out so well. If you watched it. All right, let's get into Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 3, titled Power Broker. However, we still didn't even get to see the Power Broker.
Oh, but did we?
I mean, we could have. That is true. So the spoilers for moving on from here, if you haven't watched the episode yet, you should go do that. Mm-hmm. Sharon Carter is a badass. All I gotta say.
I love her so much.
It seemed like everybody was making the comparison to the fact that she very much went all John Wick on everybody in this episode. Well, this episode was written by the guy who wrote John Wick. So there you go. Derek Kolchak, I think is how you say his name. Something like that. But yeah, that was a very, very awesome scene. You got the 3 badass superhero-esque characters that are inside talking to a scientist, and all of a sudden outside Sharon Carter's just handing out ass whoopings to everybody that comes up with a gun. Like it was
she was going around handing out second buttholes. like I don't know why she was doing that to people.
But I mean, just between that and getting to see Zemo, which I'm a huge fan of Daniel Bruhl. I think he's a phenomenal actor. After his performance as Zemo in Civil War, like we got to see a more comic accurate version of him. Like when he's like, "I'm a baron. I actually have a lot of money." Like I turned to Elizabeth, I was like, "So he's Tony Stark with Captain America's fighting skills. Got it."
Pretty much.
Yeah. So yeah, that getting to see the mask, I was super happy. And then just the three of them walking into that nightclub in Madripoor in their like clothing was hilarious to me. Smiling Tiger is an actual character in the comic books, in Marvel comic books. He is. So the idea of dressing up Sam Wilson that way is to have the Smiling Tiger persona, plus when they tried to revamp Sam Wilson's character, like in the 70s or 80s, they actually made him a pimp. Like he was a pimp that Captain America like befriended. So
What?
Yeah. It was kind of like just saying, hey, this thing happened. But eventually it was like they made it so that it was the Red Skull had like manipulated a time stream with the Cosmic Cube, and that was never a real thing with Sam Wilson being a pimp. And like, yeah, that's probably the best idea not to have that happen.
Good call. Just erase that from history.
And we talked about it last week. We talked about Truth, Red, White, and Black. The scientist they find in those containers is the same name as the scientist that did those experiments to the African American soldiers in that comic book. So they brought him around again, and we see that he has used the blood of Isaiah Bradley to make these new super soldier serums once again in current times in the MCU.
Honestly, that one specific idea has so much basis in real history.
Yeah.
Yes.
For like all vaccines,
Yes.
there are stories that fit with this idea, where it seems like this tiny little bit of information in this episode, but it has a massive background in actual history.
It really grounds the story and the concept of the story.
It reminds like didn't we talk about the Henrietta Lacks in one of the other shows that we talked about, either Watchmen or
I don't remember what it was, but we did talk about.
We did talk about it. I don't remember what show it was for.
Probably something country. What was it?
Lovecraft Country. That's what I was trying to remember too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was like, what? Which one was it that we were talking about? What was the name of that show? Which is very similar here, of using the tissue of this African American woman that had absolutely not given her consent to this to make a whole bunch of other medical advancements or experimentation or whatever you want to call it. So I mean, I could sit here and keep talking about all the things I loved about this episode, but what did everybody else think of it? I'm going to be very defensive too. I'm just joking.
Okay. The introduction of, I already forgot the name of the place they go to,
Madripoor.
Yeah.
All the shots of it, like the lady in stilettos, like just her shoes walking over a grate.
Okay,
so fun to do. But like that whole sequence.
Yeah.
Which I don't think she was quite walking correctly, because it looks like she was too much on her heel.
Yeah.
But
Mitch and I had a solid 5-minute conversation about this exact thing.
Funny thing enough is I was the one that brought it up first.
Yeah, because I was just gonna. It's one of those things. Jessica will probably agree with me, and I keep cutting her off, so I feel bad. But where it's one of those things is the one when you're like, yeah, that's totally wrong, just moving past it because they never get it right anyway. And so like it just doesn't even really register because they screw it up so many times that it's like whatever, fine.
But I just had to call it out.
Yeah, even I was like, oh, her heel got in that grate. She's not walking correctly. Like, you walk over, because I used to, when I was in college, I don't know why, I felt like I had to look great every single day. I wasn't one of those go to classes in pajamas, mainly because later on in college, all my classes were night classes. So I would wear 5-inch pump stilettos to class because that's just me. I mean, I dress up. I know Elizabeth knows. I go get coffee and I'm wearing a sundress. Like
we need sometime off recording. We need to talk about this masochistic streak and like the root of it.
Well, I don't do it much anymore, but I got a confidence boost. I'm a short person. I would get a confidence boost, and I was really good at walking in heels. Like I would walk all over campus. I would dash through rocks in order to get to class on time. Like there's a trick to do that in 5-inch heels, which is just you walk on your toes. And so the instant you see her heel lean back, you're like, she's putting too much on her heels. She's not. You need to walk almost like on your tippy toes within those heels to do it correctly. So yes, there is a correct way to walk over a grate and high heels. But that whole shots, like that collection of shots, the people like holding the guns, the neon lighting, everything, it reminded me of like a video game load screen. But I loved it. Like that, I was like, oh my god, this is like a video game. Like this makes me want to play like all those like Grand Theft Auto kind of games and stuff like that, because that's exactly where it put me. And it exactly, as somebody who doesn't quite know, like I know it was mentioned in the animated X-Men show, but I don't. Might have slept through the episode or something. But
did you ever see Wolverine with an eye patch
in the show? That's what I was trying to remember too. If they ever went and did that.
I don't think they did a patch. If you ever see Wolverine with an eye patch, it's in Madripoor.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That whole, like, I didn't know this place. I knew it was a fake place. I knew it was the comics, but that whole opening sequence told me exactly what this place was. Even without being like tucked, like without them saying, "Oh, it's like the criminal underground," you know, I know exactly where I am right now because of those shots. It was like a really bad, not even bad. It was a really good advertisement, like to go vacation there, even though it's criminal underground.
You know what's funny is that opening shot of the place makes me really think of Macau. Like I that's the feel I get of Madripoor from what they're depicting it here. And speaking of Wolverine, so the Princess Bar where they go to, he is part owner of that bar. Patch is that his alternate like name, his undercover name, because he throws on a white like tuxedo coat and puts an eye patch on, and no one knows he's Wolverine anymore, like kind of thing. So that's I always thought that was funny, but yeah, that's like I said, there's connections to the X-Men and Wolverine in Madripoor, a big one.
It's good.
Anybody else, or we cut you off again, Jessica? I'm sorry.
No. I think that's my initial. I really wanted to talk about that. There are other things I liked, but that I just loved exactly how it was filmed, and I could see now it does make sense. It was written by the people at John Wick, because I was literally like, this looks like it was shot like John Wick. The lighting and everything, it was just gorgeous. It was just filmed so great, and I just liked it. And the motorcycle scenes, I was like, ooh, look at that lighting. Like, I just loved it. Okay. That's
John.
Yeah. John.
Hit it.
I'm gonna say that from now on, this is gonna be my go-to dance move. That just looks so great. I mean, I don't even know where I can begin with this one, because I pretty much texted you guys as soon as the episode was over, and I was like, I went from liking to loving this episode or this show with this episode, and that stands firm because I liked it. After this, I think I agree with you, Mitch. Now having the key players in place and watching now like the chess game begin for reals, everything from the way the story was told, the way that Bucky is telling you in past tense something that happened for real, and you get caught up right to it. That's just really good way of conveying that story. The relation with all of the characters is great. I like how likable Zemo is for what a bad person he is, and how he's not making any promises that he's not going to try to kill Bucky at some point, because his whole point is to get rid of super soldiers and the Winter Soldier project. And I like that brief moment of sincerity where it's like, hey, if it means it makes any difference, it wasn't personal. I just needed you for what I was doing. I'm glad that they called back to the words, because I was like really hoping that was going to be something brought up. And now we have that question answered. He can't be triggered by that anymore or activated by that.
You didn't finish it.
This is true.
It's true, but I always assume that like even with just the first ones that kind of stop him in place.
That's true. Yeah, he did. He at least started looking like he got like the meat sweats. When the first few got started.
It was like, oh wait, shit. But there could be like backup words, like in case those don't work. There's
That's true.
The secondary set. Yeah,
it's just the Konami code up down.
But you have to like physically touch them and like do the tap tap tap. Here. I love the fact that they had to play these personas, and Bucky had to go back into Winter Soldier mode. Anytime that Zemo spoke Russian to him, I got a little something weird that I'm not sure I'm ready to talk about. But it was really nice. I was like, what is that weird feeling? I hope this doesn't awaken something in me. It just the fight scene in the bar, Sharon Carter just like taking names. I'm like, give her the shield. Screw trying to figure out if like
Right?
Yeah.
it's like, what's his name isn't ready. Sam Wilson doesn't know if he can pick up the mantle for all these different race reasons and whatnot. Give it to her. She's can handle it.
However,
and
Bucky did say himself, he's like, I'm going to fucking take the shield if
Before I let you destroy it.
Yeah, exactly. So there's the chance of seeing that costume in work, and I'm excited about that.
that would be cool. And then I guess the last thing, because John Walker wasn't that much into this episode, but his couple of scenes that he is in is like, oh, we're getting to see his real, like maybe it's the power trip getting to his head, or maybe this is how he really is. But he was definitely doing current state American politics overseas of like, don't you know who I am? Pulling the King Joffrey, power play. And I was so hoping that the guy would answer back, because they were speaking German, I think. I hope he would answer back in English, like, you're not Steve Rogers, or something like that, just to, like, really dig it into him.
Honestly, he did start it by saying, like, you... I
know exactly who you are, and I don't care.
Well, no, he said something about the way that he's embodying America.
Oh.
Like, he said something to the effect of this being now America. He said, you guys are getting so violent, or have become so violent, or something to that effect.
Oh, you've become so brutish?
Brutish.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, and I don't know if when he yelled out that "Do you not know who I am?" part, if it was more of the "I'm Captain America" or "I am John Walker" or even "I'm American force," whatever. Like, I felt like he just reacted more to the spitting on the Captain America suit more than just being spit on himself. Not that I'm trying to like make any excuses for him. He's obviously losing it, or at least we see why the U.S. government thought that he was the perfect choice for being the next Captain America. As Elizabeth brought up before, it's like he's a great soldier. He's not the great Captain America.
No, and the thing is yes, he was mostly reacting to the spitting on the uniform, but it was the spitting on him in the uniform. Like, when I put this uniform on, I am God.
Yeah.
You don't get to spit on God, and America is God, and there's nothing wrong, and you can't criticize, and nobody can be opposed, and I'm perfect because I have this uniform on.
Okay.
Yep.
It's that mentality.
Yeah.
There was something about this episode. Oh, if you want to go, Mitch, I'm going to go for a while.
No, go for a while, because I will just chime in and I'm going to add stuff at the end anyway. So,
okay. Well, there's something about this episode that enabled me to enjoy it, but also turn it off at the same time and think about a lot of the other implications of the previous two episodes in a way that I enjoyed.
okay.
I don't know if I just needed some time, like with the headphones out, to be with my own thoughts about it. I don't know. But I really got into a spot thinking about it where, with that scene with John Walker to start, since we just talked about that, I thought about this time when I was a little kid. I held doors open for people a lot. I really like doing things for other people in general. I guess that's my love language. I don't know. But I thought about when I was a kid, and I would hold the door open for somebody. And there are some people who are dismissive of a person when you hold the door open for them or something like that. And then there are other people who are just busy. And so like those two different people will both not necessarily say thank you. And little kid, like 7-year-old Steven, was a real snot about it. And I would be like, you're welcome. And then at some point I realized if I'm doing it and then getting mad about someone not saying thank you, I'm not actually doing something nice. Yeah. And I think that was what John Walker was embodying in that moment. He's like, don't you know who I am? America does all this humanitarian aid stuff. Like, we are good. We are democracy. And I think that's the thing that was being embodied in that moment. To me, at least. Obviously, people can take different things from anything. So I just thought about that. I don't think he's doing it in any positive way. The other ones that I got to think of a lot for this one was that whether or not they realize it, there's a little bit of an indictment of the way that studios work.
Okay.
With their creatives in this. So Sam Wilson is a massive superhero. Like, people know who he is. He's one of this group of people who saved the world. People are aware of him in this way. That guy recognizes him on sight after a little bit of coaxing, you know? People do the little wings thing at him. But he still has absolutely no money whatsoever, and he's still doing jobs saving people. He's basically just a person who's taking on gigs.
Yeah.
He has no secured employment whatsoever, but is still responsible for some of the things that have made the biggest impact in the world. There's something to be said about that being how people work for big studios. About the creatives who work on these things, they just get shuffled from one thing to another, and that's just accepted as the way that it works. So I think that's an interesting one to have in there. And then the last one, I guess, for this one was actually that he might actually still be being Captain America in this, because the person who got to decide who Captain America was this time around are the people who made all of those posters that we saw in that museum before. Those posters were buy bail bonds. Captain America wants you to enlist. Captain America wants you to this. None of them were a positive thing. It was very transactional relationships with the people that Captain America was being sold to. And I think we are seeing exactly that in this new person. So I don't know. I just think that they've been doing a really good job of setting that up. He gave the shield to a person who was like, you did the right thing, son. And then at the end of the episode, we see them just go ahead and give it right to somebody else who they chose for this one. I don't know. I think there's a lot in there that's really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the fact that they decided not to just use him as the sideshow freak that they did with Steve Rogers at first, of just doing USO shows, they are allowing him to go on missions. They're, and he doesn't have,
because it sells better.
It does. Yeah. And the fact that you have TikTok and social media and stuff like that, all that stuff can be uploaded and like, this is the action that he's doing, instead of going from city to city and lifting up a motorcycle with 3 women on top of it. Like, it doesn't need, and he can't do that either. Like, he's just a regular soldier. He doesn't have super strength. He doesn't enhance strength, at least to our knowledge. It's a interesting dynamic that I think Steven is bringing up. So
absolutely. I think they are using him, instead of showing his individual strength, he is representative of the American military strength. Is really what he's now embodying. So there were a number of things that I don't know if Steven's done. Steven, I don't know if you're done with your list, because I've got lots of stuff. So I find it really interesting because in this episode we finally really see the mirroring between the fake Captain America and our not villain. Because I really think the power broker, the flag smasher, Carly
Morgenthau,
are clearly the exact mirrors of each other, both doing terrible things for what they believe are the right reasons. At first, you almost sympathize more with Carly until she blows up all of the building with the people inside.
GRC, GRP, something like that.
Yeah.
GRC.
That was literally reaction, because as they were getting in the car, I was like, oh, well, I mean, they're not killing people. And then an explosion happens, and I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah. And I did appreciate, thinking of the GRC, that commercial at the beginning makes you hate the GRC from the jump.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like, you just, because it reeks of big pharma commercials is really what it is all of those ED treatments and, diabetes A1C treatments, and that's what it reeks of. The other piece for me that I really like, because of who I am as a person, and it probably is a blemish on my character, I appreciate Zemo killing the doctor.
Oh,
and blowing it up, and I think that is completely the way that needs to be handled. And I like the fact that we are finally getting the conversation about the true damage vigilantes have in Sharon's arc, and the fact that she's like, I wasn't an Avenger. I did what was supposedly the quote unquote good things,
and I can't go home anymore.
At the end, she doesn't get a pardon because she's not an Avenger. She doesn't get to go home because she stole Cap's shield and Sam's wings and went against I guess she was working with the CIA at that time.
Yeah.
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 And
So she's like Snowden, basically.
yeah. And you get it with Zemo's conversation and, his thought processes behind it. And you get, along with the whole discussion about the city that went down in
Sokovia.
Mm-hmm. And you get all of those conversations that a lot of times I think get really glossed over in superhero movies and shows and those kinds of things, because they are an indictment on these people we put on pedestals and erase the things that they do that does harm. That does harm when you choose, when you as a free agent, and I get the whole criticism of the Sokovia Accords and who decides what's good and what's bad, and you can't really control superheroes. But at the same time, that's fine. There needs to be some form of accountability because you are causing destruction. It may be for the right reasons in the end, but you're causing destruction.
Haha! Elizabeth has come to my side, and she is all pro registration.
Wait, are you align with Senator Kelly, Mitch? I did not expect.
No, I don't align with the registration of the mutants. That's just like that's like registering them for being alive. This is people that are deciding to take on being a vigilante, so to speak. Like, there should be, like, if you want to be a superhero, you should have to be accountable for the stuff that you do.
I mean, it was the same problem I had at the start of Watchmen with all of the police force in masks. I'm like, it's not acceptable. Like, you destroy any form of accountability for individual action, and that's just not okay. But I've always had a problem with vigilantes.
We all need to watch more My Hero Academia and Trigun, is what you're saying. Because these two shows together dealt with both of these things.
Yep.
Trigun is that one that we've talked about a lot, where one of there's like a character who used to be a bad guy that's now a good guy, and then two people follow him around everywhere, just trying to minimize the damage that he does as insurance adjusters.
Yes.
Oh. Yep.
Nice.
And My Hero Academia is like superhero school, where they deal with a lot of the stuff of like a superhero economy and then what that creates.
Yep.
There's interesting stuff.
And I do like the illusion that I think Shannon is. I think she may be the power broker. Sharon.
I don't disagree if they decided to fuse this, because she's got so much more stuff going on.
Yeah.
That is a nice house.
Well, that was the other thing. I do appreciate that they actually talked. That was another one of those tied back to reality. Yeah, no, most of the pieces in, like, most really famous artwork these days is just locked in. It's honestly, it's in storage to avoid taxation, because we've created these free tax zones where these hundreds of thousands of pieces of art are just in storage. No, they're not even in private collections for private people to look at. They are literally sitting in closed crates in these warehouses for the simple purpose to avoid taxation. Like,
so most of what we see in the museum is not the actual piece, is what you're saying, or?
Well, so
that does happen also, but I don't think
it does happen also, but not as frequently. No, this is more of just a twist on the fact that there is so much beautiful and invaluable art that isn't in museums, that just doesn't exist because it is locked away and not even in private collections where people are seeing it on their walls, but literally just in boxes.
I feel like recently there was a story in the news about some famous painting. Somebody looked at it, like an expert on it, and went, and it was in a museum somewhere, and they were like, that's a copy. That's not real. Yeah.
No, I mean, it does. Every few years there are a couple of pieces that get discovered, but yeah, no. I found that really interesting.
And we learn, I mean, I guess it's not too big of a stretch, but being a spy translates into being a thief really well. She is very good at it. She's just a thief that knows how to fight.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you have a certain skill set and you're unemployed and your country thinks you're a traitor, what are you going to do? You put those skills to use where they could benefit you.
That's right. So I can't wait till Jack Ryan gets to the point where he starts stealing art. So we do have this moment where we do see that Sharon gets leaves in a car after she tells the boys to go off and do their little adventure, which does imply that she could be the power broker. I don't think that they will personally merge the two characters like that, but it could be a possibility. It could definitely be a possibility.
Last piece. I don't know if we ever get the cycling back to Wakanda.
Yeah, that's what I was about to bring up next. As we are in the city at the end of the movie, I don't remember where we're at. It must have been it's wherever Carly's mother had passed away.
Near the Baltic.
Yeah. So Bucky picks up the fact that he sees Wakandan beads on the ground. Those, as we know from Black Panther, those mean a very specific thing. He follows the breadcrumbs, and we end up with I forget what her name is, but she is the second in command of the Dor Milaje. So he is, and being a person that was emerged in that culture for a little bit of time, he knew what to expect, and we know now that the Black Panther, or at least the Dor Milaje, are very interested in killing Zemo for killing T'Chaka all those years ago. Which makes complete sense.
I don't blame them.
Honestly, that might have just factored it into Bucky's original plan. Like, if we break him out, so we just put him on the chopping block for.
We get his assistance, and then we get him killed, and now I'm free. This is great.
Her name is Io. The character's name is Io. That is the other thing that I wanted to bring up. As much as I loved this episode, the breaking out of Zemo. When did Bucky get the card into the book? That I don't know if I missed it, but he just said, "Hey, what's that book you're reading over there?" And he picked up Machiavelli, and was like, "Yeah, that makes sense that he would be reading that." But then all of a sudden, the card was in the book. I was like, "Well, when did that happen?" I
had no idea. There were 4 different jumps in that moment. If anybody has an idea for this, say it before I make an ass out of myself. But there are 4 different things that had to have happened in that scene if you were to take either direction of he put something in there or that got out to him. That never happened.
Yeah.
The way I interpreted that scene as the Bucky kind of knew already that Zemo had an escape plan.
Yeah.
And the was already in there from before. And he was just like, okay, this is the time that we need you to bust out of here because we need you for this specific reason. And I guess counted on the fact that Zemo was going to want to come along for that.
But so you're saying Zemo had already had the key card from before, and Bucky just also knowing how to escape things knew exactly how Zemo was going to escape by.
I didn't think he had the key card.
I assumed I was with John. I assumed Zemo had the key card, and Bucky was like, "I know you've got a plan started."
But Bucky's the one that gave that note to the guy playing chess.
I will give you the opening that you're required.
Only role. That was his only role, and that whole escape.
I'm pretty sure it was Zemo.
Yeah.
Zemo
the only
what?
role for you was to.
That gave the little note.
Yeah.
Was it? I thought it was Bucky.
Bucky gave.
Yeah, I thought it was Bucky.
It was Bucky and Sam as they were walking away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bucky gave the note. Zemo, I'm sure, possibly gave him the note, though.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know. But from what I took was how the whole thing went, it was clear to me Zemo had planned the whole thing. He already had it planned for weeks.
He just needed assistance with the catalyst. He was waiting for his opening.
That was literally all he needed was Bucky to drop a paper off and leave. That was it. Because Bucky didn't help later on or anything. He got out on his own, technically.
Well, and he would have already had to have told him where to meet him at and everything. So I do agree with that one. I just don't know how he gave that to him or vice versa. I don't know how the handoff of an object happened.
That would happen.
I'm just saying it was all a very cool sequence, but I have no idea how it
actually
fell into play. Yeah. And that was my biggest issue with that scene.
Okay. The scene opens with Zemo opening Machiavelli, and the key's already in there.
Right.
It looked like a bookmark to me. It didn't look like a key.
And I just assumed
guess
that
that was.
Bucky got that to the person giving out books and then gave the book to Zemo. That's how I interpreted it.
Oh, see, and I interpreted it. Zemo was already starting the plans to escape.
Yeah, it was Bucky that passed off the note, though. That part I was incorrect about.
Okay.
See, this is going to be impossible to pull off. They're not letting people send things to people in prisons with books anymore. It's getting real complicated. No one's going to get out of jail like this.
But he did, and surprisingly enough, they didn't freeze, the world's court didn't freeze his accounts or anything. He still got money and stuff.
Well, except he notes that it's family. So his assets are probably frozen, but he's utilizing family assets.
Okay. I don't think there's anybody
some
left in
people
his
have,
family,
like-
but
There is probably a distant cousin somewhere.
He's also a criminal, so he probably knows how to hide money from
fair.
the government.
That's fair.
Well, no, more importantly, he's rich. He knows how to hide money from the government.
It's also true.
I know where he got this money. He's responsible for the light beer Zima. It's a family company. Yeah.
Well, I mean, his government no longer exists and Sokovia's gone. I mean, he did mention that that there's a memorial that neither Buck or Sam have gone to. So soon we're going to go see that at some point. Does anybody recognize the Zemo's butler? The actor looked very familiar to me. I could not place him though.
I got nothing.
The same butler as Spider-Man 2.
Was it?
No, I'm just joking. No.
I mean, it kind of reminded me of it, so that's why I was like, did he look familiar? Okay,
It's just the old butler trope.
I mean, yeah, it's very much what Jarvis is supposed to look like.
Woodhouse.
Woodhouse, yeah, that's true. Okay. Anything else anybody would like to bring up? Because, like I said, I thought it was a great episode.
I don't think it's tied to the episode, but I mean, I have a nice short film suggestion for people.
Oh yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, there's a 4-minute short film. It's on the YouTube channel Dust. I think it was. I'm not trying to find the name here, but it's just called Floaters. It's nice. It's like 4 minutes long. It's funny. Have a good time.
Okay.
Huh.
I did want to bring up that although I liked all of the guy-centric stuff, I was really surprised, A, that we got Sharon Carter, that this is what she's doing, and that they did such a good job of portraying her as both being kind of sassy boss girl, but also a little bit bitter about the whole situation, all wrapped into one. Like you could tell she's kind of stewing under the surface of these two just parading around the states all willy nilly, and that first line she has where it's remember I got busted for stealing your wings to save his ass from the other guy's ass or whatever she said about that, and how she's walking around super comfortable in her home with yeah, you guys are just a bunch of a-holes
Yeah.
But still, I don't know, the way she just plays that whole thing is so removed from going back to her previous appearances. She almost doesn't really have a personality. She's just there to fulfill a function. And here she's a more fleshed out character, which is also true for Zemo. But I like that how they did that with her too. It's she's not taking any shit anymore, and it's just really fun to watch that.
I mean, I would have to assume that Sharon did not go away in the blip. She did in the snap.
Yeah.
She was still around, which would made it much easier for steal stuff, I would assume.
Yeah. Oh, the world's in shambles.
Yeah. So just to follow up, the actor who played the butler was Nicholas Pryor. We all watched him in The Outsider. He played a character named Peter Maitland. But I know him as Tom Cruise's dad in Risky Business, so that's where I recognized him from. So there you go.
There we go.
I forgot about that show.
If anybody else has an opinion on this episode or any of the things we watched this week, you can reach out to us on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter as @Mitchipedia GEM. GEM stands for Geek Elite Media. Steve, where can people find you online?
You can find me across all social media as some variation of Peppermint Gentleman. For Twitter, it's Peppermint Gent for short.
Jessica?
You can find me on Twitter as JM Bailey Writes.
John?
You can find me on all social media with no variations at Magic Bollocks.
Elizabeth?
You can find me with the rest of Geek Elite Media at Geek Elite Media and our Facebook page /Geek Elite Media.
Check out archived episodes of this podcast and other podcasts on our network on our website, geekelitemedia.com. Go to our Patreon, patreon.com/geekelitemedia for exclusive material that you can only get if you're one of our patrons. And whatever podcatcher you use to listen to us, please rate and review us. It helps spread the word of our network. But until next time, this is the Geeks Watch on the Geek Elite Media Network saying always remember to geek out.
Geek out.
This concludes our broadcast. Beep.